comes down from Sydney, came out to Australia, about 15 years ago, and has played a lot of club rugby in Sydney, and actually played the trial game against us for the Australian Barbarians, and that's probably where I first noticed him. Actually, I knew he'd been floating around, and he's very keen to be a professional rugby player. I certainly was aware of his history, but I was pretty impressed by that game, and timely enough, we had an injury, and I looked at a bit of the NRC last year, a bit of club rugby as well, and I think he's the right fit for our group, just that little bit older, only a little bit older, but certainly very experienced. How many club games have you got in Sydney?
Just over 100, I think, yeah.
Over 100, yeah, first grade game, so really good experience, and I think that's what this group needs at the moment.
Did you look much further than that, or did he kind of come straight to your mind when you realised you needed someone?
We looked everywhere, yep. So as usually happens, you sort of look all around the world. You look in your own backyard, and we had a few offers, a few options. We had a number of young halfbacks coming through the system, and then we obviously approached a couple of guys who'd been here before. But having thought about it and weighed up all the options, we still came back to Vet as the best option.
Can you just take us through, I guess, a bit of a timeline about when it all sort of everything fell into place and how much of a chance he's had to fit in with the rest of the group, etc.?
Well, I guess the timeline is we played that Australian Barbarians game. We played the Waratahs the following week, and Tomas picked up his injury, and we started looking at next week, firstly internally, just to see whether we could cover it internally. And that still might be an option down the track, but for the short term we felt we needed coverage, so we started looking around, and then the negotiation wasn't very long. It was a bit of a phone call, and he's pretty keen to get down here, and we had a few particulars that we had to sort out, but that wasn't until last week, so Vet really didn't get down here until the weekend. He works full time, so you can probably ask him this, but had to get out of his job temporarily, and we're sort of in a mad hurry to get him down here over the weekend, and he started training with the boys yesterday, and tried to pick everything up in one day, and I think realistically it'll take a couple of days for that to sink in, but I think having seen him train for 2 days now, he is the right mix for the team.
Starting straight away, then round one coming to it.
Yet to be decided, so depends what he says in this interview, and then no, we've internally picked the starting team, and we're still looking at our reserves bench at this stage. So we'll name that on Thursday, like we always do.
But is he an option for, like, I know 2 days is quite a quick transition to come in,
Yep.
try and pick up players, combinations, everything like that?
Yep, very difficult. Very tough to pick everything up in 2 days, but he's in contention for selection this week.
The reason for the 2-month contract is a 2-month contract, is it?
It is. Yeah.
Because obviously Tomas is out for at least 4
Yes.
at this stage. Is it a bit of a trial and see?
It is a little bit, which is what we spoke about, just making sure he fits in, I guess, making sure everything works out with him, work-wise as well. So, a bit of trial and a bit of a trial period for him, I guess, but it's not going to be the 2 months, it'll be sort of the first couple of weeks to make sure that we're happy with that, and then we'll, as we've discussed, we'll talk about longer term.
Christchurch round one, that's for any players. I guess you've got a lot of new faces, but it's a tough place to be throwing guys in, isn't it? It's not an easy place to win.
Well, no, it's not at all. And we haven't got a great record against the Crusaders, so it's a massive game for us first up. We had a bit of success last year in the first game. We felt that we started the season quite nicely last year. We felt that the preparation this year has been good as well. Different group of players, but it's a lot harder than it was last year. Last year's game was here at home. Had a nice prep coming into that with the home crowd, and this time, travelling to Christchurch on Thursday and coming up against one of the best teams in the competition straight up is always tough.
Tell us, I guess, a bit about this role in week and a half for you, I guess.
Yeah, so it happened pretty quickly. Just had to get everything sorted out back home with full-time work and with my situation back at home. Happened pretty quickly. It was pretty overwhelming. But when the opportunity arose, I was pretty happy just to take it with both hands, and just getting Downey in full-time training is probably the best thing that could have happened to me. So yeah, it's probably hats off to Bernie and them for looking at those players. Sort of, some people would look past that, they're sort of past it, or just over the age gap of having to develop. But yeah, no, it's probably a niche in the Australian market that can be tapped into. Is those guys that played a whole lot of first grade rugby, never really got a crack when they were 20, but they matured throughout their young 20s. And there's probably a few other players out there that can fit that mould, same as me. But yeah, just happy to be down here. It's so far the boys are pretty easy to get along with and really welcoming, so makes it a lot easier.
How much do you think that experience has helped kind of when you've been thrown in the deep end here in a day and a half of training to try and get everything through your head?
I think as a rugby player, you've got to be adaptable. You with playing club rugby and then going into NRC and then heading into the Barbarians, there's a lot of plays you've got to get used to pretty quickly and then sort of chuck them in the back of the mind. So in terms of like learning the plays, you just get through them. You run them once, twice, and it just sort of sticks in your head. So it's been pretty easy. Well, not, I can't say easy. I've had to apply myself a fair bit the last day and a half, but I think it'll come to me as most of the guys out there. If you throw them in another franchise, they'll be able to pick it up pretty quickly, because you just have to be an adaptable person.
What's your full-time job that you put on hold today?
It's pretty long-winded. I work as a contracts administrator for a construction company, residential company. We're not a big company in Sydney, but we do a lot of developments and new homes. And so I basically look after all their contracts, all their project schedules, and then do all the developments from getting it from it's probably gibberish to you guys, but going from just a block of land through to council and then build and hand over. So I had a fairly important role there. It was just very fortunate that we moved to everything on cloud-based or online-based about 10 months ago. So they were happy for me to sort of trial the work away from home. So they've been really, really good to me. They said just go and sort yourself out the next 2 weeks. We'll give you the next 2 weeks off, and then from then on just try and see how many hours you can put in. So they've been really good. I've got to say big thanks to them.
Is it particularly a daunting thing to have obviously received the great phone call, but are you feeling, I guess, a little bit of pressure over the next couple of days as well?
I'd say more excitement than pressure. Yeah, you do get a little bit anxious about who's down there, what's the coach is going to think of you, what's the players going to think of you. But like at the end of the day, it's a rugby environment, and we're all just a big family, and to be welcomed into this family has just been awesome. So I won't say it's daunting, but it's been exciting.
What was your initial reaction or emotion when you got the call?
Kind of like this. I was really surprised. I've always dreamt of it and always wanted to play Super Rugby. So when the call came through, I was pretty surprised and excited, like I said earlier. But yeah.
Did you think, so you're 26?
26, yeah, correct.
Like you said that, most people think if they don't make it by 18 or 19, that Super Rugby dream's sort of gone. But did you think it had passed you by, or did you always hold out hope?
I always held out hope. I recently started training with a exercise physiologist up in Sydney, and he sort of just made me believe again. Just pulled me in and ran me through 11 sessions a week, and he said, you've got what it takes. And here I'm sitting now. So
Do you feel like you're ready if Bernie does throw you in round one?
yeah, 100%. Physically, mentally, I'm fit. I'm feeling fresh. I've only played the Barbarians game as for a trial, but I've been training since October last year, sort of 11 sessions a week, and I I feel that I'm physically unprepared, mentally unprepared. So,
So rugby sessions or fitness sessions?
like all 11 sessions, it's four weights, 3 stretching, 3 conditioning sessions, and then just work out the rest as a kicking and passing session as well. So across the board.
So while other blokes here are ducking off for lunch, are you checking emails and that sort of thing, keep up on work?
Correct. Checking into emails, making a few phone calls. Even when I go back to the apartment, just checking emails, making sure I just touch base with the people I have to. So it's not really much of an off time at the moment, but I think I'll find that balance within the next 2 weeks.
Had some good news at the weekend with Christian Leolicano. What sort of role do you see him as playing this year around the club?
Well, as co-captain, he'll still have influence on the players. So in the locker room, out on the field, and then from a coaching capacity, we'll certainly use him as one of the coaches in the early stages of his rehabilitation back into playing. I noticed he was in the gym today, so he started his rehab program to get back to playing. But then he's also involved in the units meeting this morning, so he was presenting some of the training from yesterday. He's down on the field giving advice to the players, and he's going to take a pretty big hand in the kicking coaching for the short term. So he's got a fairly important role in the group, and quite a busy one at the moment. We don't want to burn him out, but you know, he passed his milestone on the weekend, 100 days. He's had the pick line taken out. He's feeling a lot better, and he's back up here full time. So we're still paying him, so he's got to do some work for us.
Is there any chance that he could play if things get, sort of progress quicker than expected this year?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get anything before 6 months. So the doctor, the specialists have spoken to him about the 6-month mark as being his target. So we're certainly not going to push anything before that. I don't know. We don't know. I'm pretty optimistic. I certainly want to see him back training with us by the end of the season. Playing with us, that'd be unbelievable. If he's back playing club rugby by the end of the season, that'd be unbelievable as well. If he stays in remission for the rest of his life, that's the number one goal for now. But I know he's got this journey that he's been on, and he wants to get back and play rugby at some stage. So I'll help him facilitate that if I can.
There's been a discussion about the 5 franchises in Australia. So how confident are you that the Brumbies can survive into the World Cup?
Yeah, very confident. We've got a strong supporter base here, not just the fan base, but the community, and the sponsorship that we pick up in the local area is very strong at the moment. Our financials have been strong for a while, and moving forward they're looking very strong. We obviously need to maintain our success on the field that we've had over the last sort of 5 seasons, but that's always an ongoing battle for any franchise. You've got to, you look at long-term sustainable success, and that's financial and obviously results on the field. So we're trying to achieve both at the moment.
A lot of sort of changes in the off-season. What are the expectations for this year, given you sort of lost a lot of experience?
It's the same as previous years. We set out at the start of the year like every other team, and we set our goals to reach the finals. So there's no hiding that. There'd be no team in the competition that's not trying to achieve that. But for us, and I've said it, it's a bit of a cliche, we take it one game at a time. So the focus for us is this weekend against the Crusaders. We'll have a bit more indication of where we need to go to after that.
Any more questions?